So imagine a building inspector shows up at your front door.
Okay.
But instead of checking the drywall or measuring the concrete foundation of your house, they look you right in the eye, clipboard in hand, and they just ask, what right do you have to be here?
Wow, that's incredibly confronting.
Right. And I don't mean legally. I mean existentially. Like, what are the load-bearing pillars of your actual life?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they're essentially demanding to see your existential permit to occupy space on this planet.
We rarely walk around interrogating our own right to take up oxygen like that. I mean, we just assume that because we were born, our presence is automatically justified.
Exactly. So let me ask you, the person listening right now, do you think you are living well? Are you enjoying life?
Most people would probably say yes, or at least hope to say yes.
Well, do you feel good about your place in the world?
Okay.
Because according to a beautifully brutal text from March 7, 2011, by an author named Xu Feng, if you don't possess at least one of 8 very specific qualities, your quote-unquote good life is fundamentally an illusion.
And worse than that, he argues it's an illusion built entirely on the unseen suffering of others.
Yeah, it gets dark pretty quickly. The text is titled, Reflect on Your Foundations for a Meaningful Life. And our mission for today's deep dive is to really unpack the author's incredibly strict criteria for what justifies a human existence.
What makes this document so fascinating is that it wastes absolutely no time. Like, it forces you to look in the mirror immediately.
Oh, totally.
Zifeng manages to combine these massive, grand, almost cosmic ideas about humanity with very grounded everyday realities. There is absolutely no room for fence-sitting in his framework.
None at all. And before we even get into what those specific foundational qualities are, we really have to grapple with the severe ultimatum the author presents to anyone who lacks them.
Right, the interrogation phase.
Yeah, he opens the text with this sequence of rapid-fire questions that feels like a cross-examination. He asks, do you have talents that can govern the heavens and shape the earth?
Which is quite the opener.
Right. And if the answer is no, he just keeps going. Do you have unyielding determination? Are you hardworking, honest, trustworthy? It's just a relentless barrage.
And if you find yourself answering no to that sequence, he doesn't soften the blow at all. He boldly declares that you lack the foundation for a meaningful life.
Just boom, right there.
Yeah, the rhetoric is completely designed to strip away modern complacency. Because in our society, if we have enough money in the bank to buy groceries and, pay rent, we tend to feel completely justified in our existence.
Yeah, we equate financial survival with existential validity.
Exactly. And Zuofing is challenging that baseline assumption. He's forcing you to question whether your comfort is actually earned by your own inherent qualities or if it is merely extracted from the invisible labor of the rest of the world.
Okay, I actually want to push back on this intense framing for a moment.
Sure.
It's simply enjoying life without a clearly defined, epic foundation, inherently parasitic. I mean, it really feels like Zuofing is operating with a strict cosmic accounting ledger.
Yeah.
In his view, there seems to be zero neutral ground. Like, you are either actively earning keep putting positive points into the ledger, or you are an active drain on humanity's resources. Is there really no such thing as just, hanging out, doing your own thing, and doing no harm?
It's a fair question, but if we look closely at the mechanics of his philosophy, doing no harm doesn't actually exist in a vacuum.
Why not?
Because this is a very active view of morality and existence. You cannot be passively good in Zhuofeng's framework because human existence inherently requires consumption.
Right, you have to eat.
Exactly. The absence of a foundational quality doesn't make you neutral, it makes you a burden. Because, objectively speaking, someone else is growing your food. Someone else built the roads you drive on.
Oh, I see.
Someone else is absorbing the physical and emotional friction of daily life to make your comfort possible.
So in a sense, simply by breathing and consuming calories, I'm taking from the collective pot.
That is exactly the point he is making, and Xu Feng anticipates the reader's defensiveness here. He writes that, you might ask, but here I am, living well and enjoying life. How can you say I lack the foundation for life?
Which is what everyone reading this is probably thinking.
Right. And his rebuttal is that the only reason you are alive and enjoying things is because you are living off the blood, sweat, tears, and hard work of others.
Man, that is harsh.
It is. If you are actively providing a structural pillar to hold up the roof of society, your mere presence is adding weight to it.
That is a really heavy thought to carry around. It completely recontextualizes, a lazy Sunday afternoon.
It really does.
So if the default state of a human being is essentially to be a burden on the collective, how does one actually shift the balance? How do we earn our keep?
Well, this naturally leads into the first group of the 8 qualities Fefeng outlines, which focus heavily on capability, output, and drive.
Okay, let's get into the actual list.
The first half of the list outlines 4 specific traits that grant you this foundation for life. And the very first one he lists is, quote, talents that can govern the heavens and shape the earth.
Which is just a staggeringly massive phrase.
Yep.
Govern the heavens, shape the earth.
That's a lot to live up to.
It implies a level of visionary genius, someone who literally changes the trajectory of human history or reshapes physical reality.
Absolutely.
But the other 3 traits in this capability group are unyielding determination, being hardworking, and finally, having a specific skill or craft.
Quite a drop-off, right?
Seriously, when you look at that grouping, the spectrum of criteria is wildly vast. This is like looking at a job description for an open position at a company. And the required qualifications are, must be a mythological world builder who can bend the fabric of reality.
Or
Just someone who shows up on time and knows how to use a spreadsheet.
it is a massive contrast, but the brilliance of this list actually lies in that extreme inclusivity.
Really? How so?
What Shuefeng is establishing here is the democratization of existence. You do not have to be a world-altering genius to have a valid foundation for life.
Okay, that's a relief.
A simple, honest trade knowing a specific craft is presented as having the exact same foundational validity as the talent to shape the earth.
Wait, so baking a good loaf of bread or knowing how to fix a transmission carries the exact same existential weight as governing the heavens?
Yes.
That feels like a massive loophole. Isn't he grading on a ridiculous curve there?
It might seem like a curve at first glance, but think about the underlying mechanism of utility. Why does a specific skill matter existentially?
Because you're making something.
Exactly, because it provides tangible output that offsets the input you consume. The person who governs the heavens might build the grand architecture of society, but society immediately collapses without the person fixing the transmission or baking the bread.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mere utility and effort, simply being hardworking, are completely sufficient to balance the ledger. It honors the absolute dignity of everyday labor.
I see. So it's really about structural integrity. The Empire State Building needs the visionary architect who designed it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But it also desperately needs the maintenance worker who makes sure the boiler doesn't explode in the basement. Both are foundational to the building continuing to stand.
That's the exact dynamic. In a world that constantly tells us we need to be exceptional to matter, this text argues that sheer, unglamorous effort grants you the exact same right to exist as unyielding, heroic determination.
Okay, I buy that raw capability and physical effort pay your existential rent. But what happens to the person who gets physically injured?
Right.
Or someone who is elderly? Or just someone who isn't naturally talented or particularly driven? Are they instantly reclassified as a parasite? Do they lose their existential permit because they can no longer provide physical utility?
That is the exact vulnerability in a purely merit-based or labor-based system. And Zhu Feng clearly recognizes that because the text pivots here in a profound way.
Oh, interesting.
He provides a completely different currency you can use to balance your cosmic ledger, which is social friction. This brings us to the relational virtues.
Got it. So the next 3 qualities on his list are entirely about internal character and how you treat other people.
Yes, shifting from doing to being.
Right. They are being honest and trustworthy, keeping promises and honoring your word, and being kind-hearted and even tempered.
And notice what isn't on this list of moral virtues. He doesn't list immense generosity.
Right.
He doesn't list heroic courage or extreme charity. Shufeng isn't asking you to be a martyr or a hero. He is asking you to be structurally sound.
I really want to dig into that idea of structural soundness, specifically regarding that last trait, being even-tempered.
It's a unique one to include.
It's fascinating to me
Huh?
that simply having a good temper is elevated to a foundational life pillar right alongside shaping the earth. I mean, I think we can all agree that an even temper is a nice trait to have, especially if you've ever driven in rush hour traffic.
Oh, absolutely.
But elevating it to an existential justification seems like a stretch. How does not getting angry balance the cosmic ledger?
To understand that, we really have to look at the psychological ripple effect of human behavior, specifically emotional labor.
Okay.
What causes pain and suffering in the mundane reality of daily life? It's volatility, it's unpredictability. Think about a workplace or a household that contains a highly volatile, ill-tempered person.
Oh, it's exhausting. Everyone else is constantly walking on eggshells. You spend half your day just managing their mood so they don't explode.
Precisely. That volatile person is extracting immense amounts of time, energy, and cognitive load from everyone around them. They are an emotional parasite.
Wow, an emotional parasite. That is a great way to put it.
Now flip that. Look at the mechanisms of honesty, promise-keeping, and being even-tempered. These are all traits of predictability.
Right.
When people know they can rely on your word, and when they know you will bring a calm, kind-hearted energy to a situation, you drastically reduce the cognitive and emotional load of society.
You act as a stabilizing force.
Yes, you are carrying your own emotional weight, which prevents you from extracting emotional labor from others. If the ultimate sin in this text is living off the pain and suffering of others, then these relational traits are the active antidotes. You are injecting peace and trust into the social fabric.
That reframes so much of how we value people.
Yeah.
You can literally just be a good, calm, reliable friend, and according to this framework, your existence is completely justified.
Exactly.
You've passed the inspection, you don't have to invent a new technology, you don't have to work 80-hour weeks, and you don't even have to have a specific tangible skill. Being fundamentally trustworthy and kind is enough of a structural contribution to pay your way.
It implies that the invisible social fabric requires just as much rigorous maintenance as our physical infrastructure.
Yeah.
The person who frames the physical house has a foundation, but so does the person who ensures the emotional environment inside that home is peaceful and built on absolute trust. Humanity cannot function if either of those pillars is missing.
Okay, so we've covered 7 of the 8 qualities now. We explored the realm of physical and mental capability, the epic talent, the sheer grit, the hard work, the specific skill.
You're doing.
Right, the doing. Then we moved into the moral pillars, honesty, keeping promises, and that vital, even-tempered predictability.
The being.
Exactly. And that brings us to the 8th and final quality. And this one introduces a completely different dimension, a spiritual capstone that perfectly sets up Hufeng's ultimate grading scale for human existence.
Right. The 8th quality listed in the text is firmly believing in the existence of the greatest creator.
And just to be perfectly clear with you listening, our goal today isn't to debate theology or, take a stance on religious philosophy.
No, not at all.
We are analyzing the author's framework exactly as he designed it. And within Zhu Feng's system, having this firm spiritual belief is presented as the final possible anchor you can possess.
And it's presented alongside all the others.
Exactly. Whether you find your foundation through physical capability, social morality, or this spiritual alignment, his rule is absolute. You need at least one.
This introduction of the 8th quality leads directly into the climax of the text. Because once Zhu Feng has established all possible pillars, he introduces a scoring system.
A scorecard for life.
Yes. It is an escalating scale of human achievement based entirely on how many of these 8 qualities you possess simultaneously.
The ultimate existential scorecard. Let's actually go through how he grades humanity. It starts at the baseline we've been discussing. If you possess just one of these 8 qualities, you have a foundation for life.
You've passed the inspection. You are not a parasite.
Right. But the scale escalates rapidly. If you possess 2 qualities, the text classifies you as remarkable.
Okay, not bad.
If you manage to possess 3, you are extraordinary. 4 qualities makes you exceptional. 5 means you are a great person.
The titles get grander and grander.
They really do. If you somehow collect 6 of these traits, Xuefeng officially labels you a saint. And if you possess 7 out of the 8, you are called the embodiment of perfection.
It creates a very satisfying ascending ladder of human potential. Like, you can really visualize the progression from simply earning your keep to becoming a paragon of humanity.
Yeah, it feels like leveling up in a video game.
It does, but it's the very last line of the text that provides a rather profound twist.
Oh man, I love this part. After building this entire escalating structure and outlining this incredibly strict path to meaning, he reveals the score for someone who possesses all 8 qualities.
Right.
He writes, if you possess all 8 heavens, is that even possible? I just find this ending so ironic.
It is pretty funny.
The author creates this intense, uncompromising checklist for a meaningful life. He threatens you with being a societal parasite if you don't meet his criteria. And then, at the very peak of his own scale, he basically throws his hands up and admits that scoring a perfect 8 out of 8 might actually be fundamentally impossible.
It is a brilliant rhetorical maneuver because it forces a sudden shift in perspective. This raises a crucial question about the nature of the list itself.
Oh.
So, by making the maximum score practically unattainable, the author retroactively changes the entire function of the text. He transforms these 8 qualities from a simple pass-fail checklist into a lifelong, humbling compass.
A compass, not a checklist. Explain how that changes the way we should interact with it.
Well, if the goal was simply to pass a test, human nature dictates that you would find your one trait. Maybe you realize you have a specific skill and you would immediately stop trying.
You'd say, I've paid my existential rent, I'm done, I'm going back to the couch.
Exactly. But by extending the scale upward to an impossible state of perfection, he's delivering 2 messages simultaneously. First, he's offering grace. You only need one trait to have the right to exist, so don't be paralyzed by inadequacy.
Okay.
But second, he is offering an endless path for growth. It is designed to keep you permanently humble.
Because no matter how good you are, you haven't finished the job. You might be hardworking, honest, and incredibly kind-hearted. According to the scale, that makes you extraordinary. But you aren't the embodiment of perfection. There's always another pillar you could be building.
Exactly. It prevents the moral stagnation that usually follows self-satisfaction.
So let's synthesize the journey we've taken through this short, potent text. To you, the listener, the core takeaway here is actually deeply grounding.
It really is.
When you feel unmoored, or when you are overwhelmed by the relentless demands of a modern world that constantly tells you that you need to be everything to everyone you know, successful, beautiful, brilliant, perfectly moral, remember Shuofeng's ledger. Your foundation for a meaningful life absolutely does not require perfection.
It only requires participation.
Yes. Whether it is mastering a specific skill, sheer unglamorous hard work, cultivating a truly even temper, or possessing an unyielding determination, you only need to anchor yourself to one of these to justify your place in the world.
Just one.
Find your pillar. As long as you have one, you are contributing structural integrity to society. You are not living off the sweat and pain of others.
Recognizing your specific pillar can lift a tremendous psychological burden. You can find deep pride in your simple honesty or your quiet craftsmanship and know that philosophically it is entirely enough. You don't need to govern the heavens to matter.
But before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over, something that builds on that final ironic question the author asks.
Oh, I like where this is going.
If possessing all 8 qualities is deemed literally impossible by Shuofeng, could it be because some of these traits inherently contradict each other on a mechanical level?
That is a very sharp angle to consider. Like, are the traits naturally at odds with one another?
Yeah. Think about the very first trait, having the talents that can govern the heavens and shape the earth, paired with being even-tempered and kind-hearted.
Oh, I see what you mean.
To truly reshape the world, to govern systems at a visionary level, you almost always have to disrupt the existing order. You have to break the status quo, tear down old structures, and that inevitably causes friction and discomfort for people.
It's unavoidable.
Right. Can a person with that specific world-altering drive truly remain entirely even-tempered and universally kind-hearted in every situation, while they are actively tearing down the old world?
It brings up the classic dilemma of greatness versus goodness. Does achieving monumental, earth-shaping tasks inherently require sacrificing a bit of that gentle, relational perfection?
Probably.
Perhaps the perfect score isn't just statistically unlikely, perhaps it is structurally impossible. The massive force required to shake the earth might be fundamentally incompatible with the deep stillness required to be perfectly even-tempered. You might have to choose what kind of weight you want to carry.
It's something to deeply consider as you audit your own foundations. Where do you fall on that spectrum? Are you the disruptor breaking things to build a new world? Or the peacemaker keeping the current world stable? The sheer force of a hard worker? Or the quiet precision of a skilled craftsman?
It's a great question to leave off on.
Next time you look in the mirror, imagine that building inspector standing right behind you, clipboard in hand, looking closely at your existential load-bearing walls. They ask you what your foundation is. After our deep dive today, I hope you know exactly what your answer is.